Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jamie, and today we're introducing the newest evolution of Actiphy ImageCenter, now combined with StorageServer to deliver a unified, secure backup storage and management platform. This session is designed specifically for MSP administrators. We'll focus on real operational challenges you face every day: performance, security, multi-tenant isolation, and managing backups at scale. By the end of this webinar, you should have a clear understanding of why this architecture exists, how it works, and where it fits into your current active image protector environments. Before we get into the technology itself, let's take a moment to level set on who Actiphy is and why our backup architecture looks the way it does. Actiphy has a long history of building fast, reliable, image-based backup technology. Imaging has always been at the core of what we do. Not file-level bolt-ons, not partial snapshots, but full system protection designed for real recovery scenarios. That focus is especially important for MSPs, because when a client system is down, recovery speed and reliability matter more than theoretical features. Actiphy solutions are designed to protect both physical and virtual systems across Windows and Linux environments. For MSPs managing mixed infrastructures, on-prem, virtualized, and increasingly hybrid, that flexibility is critical. You don't need different backup stacks or storage models for different client environments. The same underlying architecture applies consistently. That consistency becomes even more important once you begin centralizing storage and management, which we will discuss shortly. Today, Actiphy products are deployed globally by IT professionals and MSPs in real-world production environments. These are not lab-only designs. The architecture you'll see today is informed by how MSPs actually operate, handling multiple clients, managing limited maintenance windows, and needing predictable recovery outcomes. That real-world usage is what drove the evolution of ImageCenter and the integration of StorageServer. With that context in mind, let's talk about the reality many MSPs face today when it comes to backup infrastructure, and why traditional approaches are starting to show real cracks. For many MSPs, backup environments don't start out fragmented, but they almost always end up that way. Different clients have different requirements, different hardware, different budgets, and over time that leads to a mix of backup targets: local disks, NAS devices, shared folders, cloud buckets, and sometimes all of the above. Each of these destinations has its own behavior, performance characteristics, and security model, and managing that sprawl quickly becomes an operational burden. And fragmentation doesn't just complicate management, it directly impacts performance. One of the most common bottlenecks we see comes from traditional NAS devices or shared folders used as backup targets. These systems are often shared across multiple clients or workloads and rely on protocols such as SMB or NFS, which were never designed for sustained, high-throughput backup traffic at scale. For MSPs, this means longer backup windows, unpredictable performance, and backups that sometimes don't finish when they should. When a backup runs long, it doesn't just affect one client, it cascades into scheduling conflict across your entire environment. Performance isn't the only issue. Security is an even bigger concern. Traditional network shares, especially Windows-based SMB shares, are one of the most common ransomware entry points we see today. If a system is compromised and has access to a backup share, those backups can be encrypted or deleted just as easily as production data. For MSPs, that turns backups from a safety net into another attack surface. And unfortunately, securing these environments usually adds complexity, not reduces it. Beyond storage and security, there is also the challenge of verification and replication. Many environments rely on manual verification steps, disconnected tools, or scripts that require constant babysitting. Replication may be configured separately from backup jobs. Integrity checks may run inconsistently, and boot testing, if it occurs at all, is often treated as a special case rather than a standard process. For MSPs managing dozens or hundreds of clients, that complexity simply doesn't scale. When you step back and look at the whole picture, the problem isn't any single component, it's the architecture itself. Fragmented storage, legacy protocols, exposed attack surfaces, and disconnected management tools collectively create an environment that's just harder to protect and harder to trust. That's precisely the problem ImageCenter with StorageServer was designed to solve. To solve the challenges we just discussed, Actiphy took a step back and asked a fundamental question. What if backup storage itself were designed specifically for backup rather than adapted from general-purpose file sharing? That's where StorageServer comes in. StorageServer is a dedicated, secure storage layer built specifically for backup workloads. It's not a Windows file share, not a NAS export, and not something ransomware can easily attack. For MSPs, this means you're no longer forced to choose between performance, security, and simplicity. The storage layer is purpose-built for all three. Storage alone, however, is only part of the equation. Once the images are stored securely, they still need to be managed intelligently. On top of StorageServer sits ImageCenter, the centralized management layer. ImageCenter gives MSP administrators a single place to manage backup images across clients, systems, and locations without logging into individual machines or maintaining custom scripts. From ImageCenter, you control policies, schedule, retention, verification, and recovery workflows all centrally, all consistently. This is especially powerful in MSP environments where standardization is the key to scale. And management alone isn't enough. Backups must also be proven usable. ImageCenter integrates directly with Actiphy's built-in verification and recovery technologies, including bootcheck and hyperboot. Bootcheck automatically verifies that a backup image can actually boot, not that it just exists or passes a checksum. Hyperboot lets you instantly boot a system from its backup image as a virtual machine without waiting for a full restore. For MSPs, this replaces "we hope it works" with verified, testable recovery, exactly what clients expect during an incident. So now that we've outlined the components, secure storage, centralized management, and built-in verification, the next question is simple. What does it actually change in day-to-day MSP operations? Let's look at the key benefits this architecture delivers. The first and most immediate benefit is ransomware resilience. StorageServer does not expose Windows network shares. There's no SMB path to mount, no shared folder for malware to crawl into. By removing the traditional file sharing layer entirely, the backup storage is inherently more resistant to ransomware attacks. For MSPs, this significantly reduces one of the most common backup-related incident scenarios. Backups were present, but they were encrypted as well. This isn't about more security software. It's about removing the attack surface altogether. Security is critical, but it comes at the cost of performance. StorageServer uses the QUIC protocol for data transfer and multi-threading. QUIC is designed for high-performance, low-latency transfers and handles packet loss far more efficiently than traditional TCP-based protocols. In practical terms, this means faster backups, better utilization of available bandwidth, and more consistent performance, even across less than perfect network connections. For MSPs backing up multiple clients over WAN links or VPNs, this makes backup windows more predictable and far easier to manage. Performance can further be improved at the storage layer. StorageServer also supports local cache devices, including USB SSDs and NVMe storage. These cache devices act as a performance buffer, absorbing bursts of backup activity and smoothing out I/O before data is committed to primary storage. This is especially useful when multiple clients are backing up simultaneously or when using cost-effective storage may not deliver consistent write performance on its own. The result is fewer slow jobs, fewer retries, and far fewer "why did this backup take so long" tickets. Performance and security are only part of the story. Visibility matters just as much. ImageCenter provides a web-based management console with real-time visibility into client connections, transfer activity, and task status. MSP administrators can see what's happening as it happens, which systems are connected, which jobs are running, and where bottlenecks may exist. This eliminates the need to jump between machines or wait for logs to determine whether something is wrong. Centralized visibility means faster troubleshooting and far less guesswork. And when something does need attention, you shouldn't have to discover it manually. ImageCenter also includes automated alerting, with email notifications for key events such as failures, completion statuses, or connection issues. This allows MSP teams to operate in an exception-based model. You focus on what needs attention rather than constantly checking dashboards. Alerts can be tuned to match operational workflows, reducing noise while ensuring nothing critical is missed. So taken together, these benefits translate directly into fewer incidents, faster recovery, and more predictable operations. Now that we've looked at what you gain, let's take a closer look at how this is actually put together under the hood. Let's walk through the architecture from left to right. At the edge, you have active image protector clients, physical or virtual systems running in your customers' environments. When a backup runs, data is sent directly from the client to the storage server using the QUIC protocol. Each client writes to its own secure bucket rather than to a shared file system. There are no mounted shares, no open directories, and no lateral access between clients. Think of buckets as isolated, purpose-built backup destinations designed for multi-tenant MSP environments from day one. Once the data is safely stored, management and automation take over. Sitting above StorageServer is ImageCenter, the central management and orchestration layer. ImageCenter does not affect backup performance. It manages images once they arrive. From here, MSP administrators define policies, schedules, retention rules, verification tasks, and recovery workflows, centrally and consistently. This separation is intentional. Backup ingestion remains fast and secure while management tasks are handled independently. And once images are centrally managed, they can be used in multiple ways. From ImageCenter, backup images can be replicated to remote locations, cloud storage, or used directly for recovery. Verification tasks such as integrity checks and boot check can be scheduled automatically. In a disaster scenario, Hyperboot enables instant recovery by booting directly from the backup image without waiting for a full restore. This flexibility allows MSPs to standardize backup ingestion while tailoring replication and recovery strategies per client. Now that we've seen how the components fit together, let's zoom in on StorageServer itself and how it's optimized specifically for MSP backup workloads. StorageServer organizes backup destinations into secure buckets. Each bucket serves as an isolated storage container, typically assigned at the client, system, or workload level, depending on how you structure your MSP environment. This isolation is critical for multi-tenant setups, ensuring that one client's backups are never exposed to another client's, even at the storage layer. Buckets give you a clean, scalable way to organize backup data without relying on folder structure or access control lists. Once buckets are defined, controlling growth becomes just as important. StorageServer allows you to set storage quotas per bucket. This provides MSPs with predictable storage consumption and prevents any single client from silently consuming disproportionate space. Quotas also make it much easier to align storage usage with service tiers and billing models. Instead of reacting to full disks, you proactively control capacity. Performance is the next piece of the puzzle. StorageServer supports local cache devices, including USB SSDs and NVMe storage. These cache devices act as high-speed buffers, absorbing incoming backup data before it is written to primary storage. This is especially helpful when multiple clients are backing up simultaneously or when primary storage is optimized for capacity rather than speed. You can dramatically improve backup performance without replacing your existing storage infrastructure. Of course, performance improvements are most useful when you can see what's happening in real time. StorageServer provides real-time communication monitoring, allowing you to see active client connections and data transfer activity in real time. MSP administrators can quickly identify slow connections, stalled jobs, or unusual patterns without waiting for a job to fail. This visibility shortens troubleshooting time and makes performance issues far easier to diagnose. Instead of reacting to problems after the fact, you can intervene while backups are still running. So at this point, we've established a secure, high-performance storage foundation. The next step is what happens after the data is stored, how images are managed, verified, and used across your environment. That's where centralized image management comes in. Once images are securely stored, ImageCenter becomes the central automation engine. Instead of managing tasks one by one, MSP administrators define workflows centrally and have ImageCenter execute them consistently across all protected environments. This is especially valuable at scale where manual processes quickly become unmanageable. Let's look at the type of tasks that can be scheduled and automated. ImageCenter can automatically replicate backup images to local secondary storage, remote locations, or cloud targets. Replication policies are defined once and applied consistently, eliminating the need for custom scripts or per-client configurations. For MSPs, this ensures off-site protection is always running even when environments different. Replication becomes a standard service, not a special case project. Beyond replication, long-term backup health depends on how images are maintained. ImageCenter also automates consolidation by centrally managing incremental chains and retention policies. This reduces storage overhead while ensuring image chains remain healthy and usable over time. Consolidation tasks run without impacting production systems, which is critical in MSP environments where client uptime is non-negotiable. Of course, automation only matters if the results can be trusted. ImageCenter includes automated image verification, ensuring backups are not only created but also remain readable and intact. Verification can be scheduled as part of normal operations rather than treated as an occasional or manual task. This shifts verification from a best practice to a default behavior, and verification goes even further. With boot check, ImageCenter validates that an image can actually boot in a virtual environment. This is a critical distinction. Many backup solutions verify files but never confirm real bootability. For MSPs, boot check provides concrete proof that recovery will work when it matters most. This is the difference between assuming a backup is good and knowing it is. And importantly, all of this happens without burdening client systems. All of these tasks, replication, consolidation, verification, and boot check, are performed centrally by ImageCenter. Source systems are not affected by heavy processing, helping maintain performance and stability on client machines. For MSPs, this means fewer complaints, fewer resource-related issues, and a cleaner separation between production workloads and backup management. At this point, we've covered how backups are stored, managed, and verified. The final piece of the puzzle is recovery. How quickly and reliably systems can be brought back online when something goes wrong. Let's take a look at how ImageCenter and StorageServer support modern disaster recovery workflows. A strong disaster recovery strategy always starts with reliable off-site replication. With ImageCenter, backup images can be automatically replicated to remote locations or cloud storage, ensuring protection against site-level failures such as hardware loss, natural disasters, or ransomware incidents. Replication policies are centrally managed, enabling MSPs to enforce consistent off-site replication across all clients without manual oversight. This makes off-site replication a default part of your service offering, not an optional add-on. Off-site copies are essential, but recovery speed is what clients feel most acutely. In the event of failure, Hyperboot allows MSPs to instantly boot a protected system directly from its backup image as a virtual machine. There's no need to wait for a full restore before bringing services back online. This capability is especially valuable when hardware is unavailable or when time to recovery is critical. Hyperboot turns backups into immediately usable recovery assets, and that leads directly to a simpler recovery model. Because systems can be booted directly from their backup images, recovery can begin in minutes rather than hours or days. Full restores can still be performed later once operations are stabilized, but they're no longer a blocking step. For MSPs, this means faster recovery times, less client downtime, and far more predictable disaster response. From the client's perspective, the business keeps running, which is ultimately what matters most. At this point, we've covered the full life cycle, from secure storage and centralized management to automation, verification, and rapid recovery. Now let's shift from concepts to reality and walk through how this looks in practice. I'd like to walk through a brief live demonstration to show how these components work together in a real-world environment. We'll start by configuring secure storage, then run a backup from an active image protector client, and finally validate and replicate that backup, all from a centralized interface. First, we'll create the storage bucket. This bucket will act as a secure isolated destination for specific client or system. As you can see here, we can also assign a storage quota, which gives us an immediate control over capacity usage. For MSPs, this makes it easy to align storage consumption with service tiers and avoid unexpected growth. While this is being created, notice that we're not dealing with folders or permissions. Everything is handled at the bucket level. Next, we'll configure a cache device. This allows StorageServer to use high-speed local storage such as an SSD or NVMe drive as a buffer for incoming backup data. The goal here is to smooth performance, especially when multiple clients are backing up simultaneously. This is the same cache mechanism we discussed earlier that helps reduce bottlenecks without requiring a complete storage overhaul. Now we'll initiate a backup directly from an active image protector client. The data is sent directly to StorageServer using the QUIC protocol. There is no intermediary file sharing involved. From the client's perspective, this appears to be a standard backup job, but under the hood, the storage and transport layers are completely different. This means no changes to how your technicians run or schedule backups. While I'm finishing up the last few settings here, notice that everything we're doing is exactly what you'd expect in a normal backup configuration. We're not exposing network shares, we're not mapping drives, and we're not introducing any special handling on the client side. All of the intelligence lives in the platform, not in your day-to-day operations. This is really intentional. We wanted to make sure that adopting ImageCenter with StorageServer doesn't require retraining your staff or rethinking your existing backup policies. Once this configuration is saved, the client simply runs the job as scheduled and the rest is handled automatically by the back end. Over here in ImageCenter, we can see the client connection in real time. You can monitor throughput, connection status, and transfer activity as the backup runs. This visibility makes it much easier to identify issues earlier rather than waiting for a job to fail. If you've ever had to wait for logs just to see whether a backup was moving at all, this is a big improvement. Once the backup completes, we'll run verify and boot check tasks. Verification ensures the image is readable and intact. Boot check goes one step further by confirming the image can actually boot in a virtual environment. This gives us confidence that the backup isn't just present, it's usable. As you can see here, BootCheck provides several configurable options depending on how you want to validate the image. Each of these options is fully documented, so I encourage you to review the user's guide for detailed explanations and recommended configurations. For this demonstration, we'll proceed with the default settings. Now we'll switch back to the console and you can see that the BootCheck task has completed successfully. Finally, we'll trigger a replication task to copy the image to a secondary location. This could be another site, a cloud destination, or any configured replication target. Replication runs automatically according to policy without manual intervention. And with that, we've completed the full life cycle, from backup creation to verification and offsite protection. What you just saw is the same workflow that scales across dozens or hundreds of clients. Let's take a moment to look at how different types of MSPs and IT teams use this in real-world scenarios. In MSP environments, one of the most common challenges is secure multi-tenancy. With StorageServer, each client can be assigned its own isolated bucket, ensuring complete separation of backup data at the storage level. This isolation simplifies compliance, reduces risk, and makes it much easier to demonstrate to clients that their data is protected and segregated. There's no reliance on folder permissions or shared infrastructure. Each client's backups live in their own secure space. This same centralized model scales naturally beyond MSPs. In enterprise environments, ImageCenter provides centralized management across departments, locations, or business units. IT teams can standardize backup and recovery policies while still allowing flexibility where needed. The same centralized visibility and automation that benefits MSPs also helps enterprises reduce operational overhead and improve consistency. The key difference is scale, not architecture. The same platform supports both models. And for smaller environments, simplicity is just as important. For SMB environments, the benefit is straightforward deployment. StorageServer and ImageCenter can run on existing Windows systems, eliminating the need for specialized hardware or complex infrastructure changes. MSPs can deploy quickly standardized configurations and deliver enterprise-grade backup capabilities to smaller clients without added complexity. One platform, multiple client profiles without changing your operational model. Regardless of the environment, MSP, enterprise, or SMB, the common thread is automation. Let's take a closer look at how scheduling and automation tie everything together. ImageCenter allows tasks to be run either on a schedule or in response to events. This gives MSPs flexibility to match automation to real operational needs. For example, running follow-up tasks automatically after a successful backup or scheduling recurring jobs during defined windows. You're no longer limited to fixed schedules that don't reflect how systems actually behave. Automation adapts to your workflow, not the other way around. Scheduling also allows you to control when heavy work happens. Resource-intensive operations such as replication and consolidation can be scheduled to run outside business hours. This ensures client systems remain responsive during the day while maintenance tasks run quietly in the background. For MSPs managing global or multi-time zone clients, this level of scheduling control is essential. Fewer performance complaints, fewer emergency adjustments. Automation also changes how verification is treated. With ImageCenter, verification and BootCheck can be automatically run on every incremental backup. This shifts verification from an occasional manual task into a routine, reliable process. For MSPs, this means consistent confidence in backup quality without increasing operational workload. Every backup is continuously validated, not just the ones you remember to check. At this point, we've seen how storage, management, recovery, and automation all work together. To make the impact clearer, let's compare this approach to more traditional backup environments. Let's quickly summarize what changes when you move from a traditional backup setup to ImageCenter with StorageServer. Before, storage and management are handled by separate tools. Backup destinations are often shared folders or NAS devices, and administrators must manually stitch together workflows. Now storage managements are unified in a single platform designed specifically for backup operations. Instead of juggling multiple tools and interfaces, everything is managed centrally. This reduces complexity and makes environments easier to operate at scale. Traditional network shares become bottlenecks over time. With quick-based transfers, backups are faster, more resilient to packet loss, and far more predictable. Manual verification relies on human memory and spare time. Automated verification and boot check ensure backups are continuously validated without manual intervention. Open network shares create unnecessary risk. Secure buckets remove the attack surface entirely, improving ransomware resilience by design. The net effect is simple. Everything is now managed on a single platform. Performance improves immediately. Confidence replaces guesswork. Security is built into the architecture, not added later. Now that we've looked at how this changes daily operations, let's quickly cover availability and licensing. ImageCenter with StorageServer is available as part of the broader Actiphy ecosystem. It's designed to integrate naturally with existing Actiphy solutions rather than requiring a separate product stack or parallel deployment. For MSPs already using Actiphy technology, this means a smooth adoption path with minimal disruption. Compatibility is usually the next question. ImageCenter with StorageServer works seamlessly with Active Image Protector on both Windows and Linux systems. No changes are required to existing backup agents or client-side workflows. From the perspective of the protected systems, backups are continued to run as they always have. This avoids the need to retrain technicians or rework established procedures. And if you'd like to explore licensing or deployment options, for licensing details, pricing models, or deployment guidance, you can contact global-sales@actify.com. The Actiphy team can help you determine how ImageCenter with StorageServer fits into your existing environment or MSP service offerings. To close out, let's quickly recap the key points we've covered today. The first and most important takeaway is simplicity. ImageCenter with StorageServer brings backup management and backup storage together into a single platform. For MSPs, this eliminates fragmented tools and creates a clean, repeatable operational model. That unified platform also changes the security posture. By eliminating traditional network shares and using secure buckets, the architecture is ransomware resilient by design. This reduces risk without adding complexity or requiring additional security layers. Backups are protected because the architecture itself is safer. Security improvements don't come at the cost of performance. Quick-based transfers, multi-threading, and cache device support deliver faster, more predictable backup performance. Backup windows become easier to manage, and performance issues become far less common. For MSPs, this means fewer failed jobs and fewer support tickets. And finally, recovery becomes simpler and more reliable. With automated verification, boot check, and instant recovery via hyperboot, disaster recovery becomes predictable and testable. Instead of hoping backups will work, MSPs can prove they will before an incident even occurs. This turns backup from a reactive safety net into a confident recovery strategy. For those who would like to dig deeper or explore this further, we've included a few helpful resources. If you'd like to dive deeper into the technical details, configuration options, or best practices, Actiphy provides comprehensive product documentation online. You'll find setup guides, facts, and detailed explanations of features we've covered today, including ImageCenter, StorageServer, boot check, and hyperboot. These resources are especially useful for MSP admins who want to evaluate deployment scenarios or prepare internal documentation. And if you'd like to speak directly with an Actiphy team member, Actiphy's sales and support teams are always available to answer questions, discuss licensing options, or help you evaluate how this solution fits into your environment or MSP offerings. Whether you're seeking architectural guidance or next steps, you can reach out directly via the contact form. And of course, if you'd prefer to see this in your own environment, you can also schedule a free trial or live demo to explore ImageCenter with StorageServer hands-on. This is often the easiest way to see how the architecture behaves with real-world workloads and real clients. And with that, we'll wrap up today's session. This brings us to the end of today's webinar. On behalf of everyone at Actiphy, thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope this session gave you a clearer understanding of how ImageCenter with StorageServer simplifies backup management, strengthens recovery, and supports MSP environments at scale. If you have follow-up questions, would like a personalized walkthrough, or want to explore how this fits into your backup strategy, the Actiphy team would be happy to help. Thanks again, and we look forward to helping you protect what matters most.